I want to share a little bit about what God is saying to me through Revelation 6. You know, the Revelation 6 is the four horsemen. And last night I was listening to a theologian sharing about his perspective of what the four horsemen were, or the whole book of Revelation. And it caused some questions to crop up inside me. So here I've been studying, meditating, and listening to Revelation these past several weeks. And as I listened to the words read to me, I started thinking about the first seal. There were 7 seals that were broken. And in chapter 6, it talks about the first seal that was open. And as I was listening, I was listening to the audio Bible. I was thinking and I was asking myself, and I was asking the Lord, where are we in all of this? I know what other theologians are saying, but Lord, what do you say about this? And especially about that first seal. And, and I started meditating on the four horsemen. And I wondered if some of the horsemen were already released in our world. Where are we in God's timing? That's what I was thinking about, and that's what I was wondering. And then this morning I was reading it again, and I was reading the words chapter 6 again and meditating on chapter 6 again. And I suddenly came to the realization that myself, and I think many of us Christians, we're thinking Greek. We're thinking along the Greek mindset. The Greek mindset is a linear thought process, that things happen in sequence. And I have a sense that that's not how the great I am sees. That's not how the Lord sees. And I heard the Lord say that I must look at these words Hebraically. All that has happened in the past and all that is happening now, I need to look at all of that and look at it through the lens of God's eyes, of what the Lord is saying Hebraically. I believe that the Hebraic thought is through God's eyes. A portion of it is. And not to look at these prophetic words in Revelation in sequence, not one thing happening right after another. And what I heard the Lord say to me is that 4 horsemen, they've already been released. They're already here on the earth. They are here right now in the spirit. They've been here all along, and I can't tell you when they were released. It could have been 2,000 years ago, or it could have been maybe a generation ago. I can't tell you. But I started meditating on the fact, on that sense that the 4 horsemen are already here, and they're already releasing all of the whatever they release. I don't know if you call it judgment, call it sin. I don't know what you call it. So the 4 horsemen, the white horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the pallid horse, or the gray horse, depending on what translation you read. And I broke it down. The white horse, that represents the conqueror. How many world empires have risen up and fallen over the last millennia, let alone, I don't know how many millennia. Empires rise up, and empires are conquered, and empires fall, and then other empires conquer them. And then there's the red horse. That's war and slaughter. How many wars have we seen? How many people have we seen slaughtered? Again, all of these wars we've seen and heard about in the world. There has been already so much death, so much I could think is unnecessary death. There's a war already going on today between Russia and Ukraine. There's so much killing. So the red horse is war and slaughter. And then there's the black horse. That's judgment. That's the economy, where we are in their economy, when our daily needs become scarce for any reason. And that's happened how many times over? Empires hold back and empires subjugate. There are famines when all of a sudden the weather patterns are not compliant with growing our crops. And there's been the Dust Bowl. Even in the 1930s, there was a Dust Bowl. And it's been seasons of that over and over and over again over the last how many thousands of years, the last millennia. And then there's the pallid horse, the gray horse. That's death, that's sickness. You know, we've just gone through a pandemic here. And how many pandemics, how many epidemics has our civilizations, has our world seen and suffered through and lost so many people through death. I've lost some dear friends through the COVID-19 pandemic that we're just coming out of. Sickness and death have wiped out so many communities, and some entire populations. You know, if you studied even my country, the United States of America, and when the English started coming here in 1620, there were whole tribes of Native Americans that were wiped out. The land was open. That's why they were able to come. The land was open because there was so much death, because even in years before, Europeans have come to this nation and they spread out smallpox and all kinds of diseases that the Native Americans had no immunity for. And it killed entire communities. It killed entire tribes, probably entire nations of the Native Americans. So the four horses, the white horse, which is conquest, the red horse, which is war and slaughter, the black horse, which is judgment or inflation or our economy, the pallid or the gray horse, which is death, sickness, or pandemics. What if the four horsemen have already been released and we have not been able to see it? We think it's going to be worse. I have a sense that the first seal might already have been broken. And it's been broken for a long time ago. So we look at this in sequence. We think it's going to be horrifying. And I believe it will be horrifying, because one thing I see and I perceive, this is my Audrey's theology, is that how the Lord works is he works in spirals. You know, it gets worse, or you go, maybe you go from the bottom up, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's the same thing over and over and over again, yet it escalates. We look at what's going on already, but we look at it from an earthly view. We can't see what's going on in heaven. John had the incredible opportunity, the incredible privilege of being invited into the throne room of God. And he saw earth from heaven's side. He saw that the seals, again, we look at God, we look at the throne room, we look at everything in a linear mindset. So we think it's going to happen in sequence, one after another. And when John saw the seven seals being broken, when he saw them broken, in heaven it already happened. And I believe that parts of it on earth has already happened, but it's escalating. It's going in a spiral again and again and again and again. So right now, as you're reading this and as you're listening to this and thinking about this, I encourage you, get your minds out of grease. Stop thinking linear way. Start thinking, start looking at things through God's eyes. Ask the Lord for his eyes. Ask the Lord for his lenses. And look at it Hebraically. Learn to see Hebraically and learn to think Hebraically. It says that, Revelation chapter 1, he is the God who was. He is the God who is. He is the God who is yet to come. And I hear the Lord saying, it's all right now. For him, it's all right now. Right now. For us, it may not be, because we're still locked in time. We still see, think, and live in a time. So this is something to think about. This is something that I've been thinking about. And again, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your comments. May God richly bless you. Take care.